Hi, we're Harriet and Mauro, and we're restoring a 5-acre smallholding in Spain into the homestead of our dreams. Over the last 5 years, we've been working hard to turn this dilapidated, rat-infested stone cottage into a warm, welcoming, but very small home for our family. We are so pleased with the results, and we love living here, but there has always been one insurmountable problem with this little cottage, and that's that it really is just one bedroom, with no realistic possibility for extension or division. We initially solved this issue with a beautiful bell tent for visitors, but we always struggled to heat it in winter and keep it free from mold, and eventually it fell victim to the wind. Since then, visitors have either had to camp out on our living room floor or stay in tents, so we've been looking for another option. Earlier this year, we made a radical decision, but more on that in a moment. First, we need to clear up the mess from the old bell tent. So the canvas, as you can see, has gone totally brittle. It's not going to be good for anything now, so I'm trying to just separate this from the bottom, which is like a really thick plasticky sheet, which might still be okay. Just ripped everywhere, I can't really see like what part is what. God, I wonder where that was. After salvaging as much as we could from the old bell tent and disposing of what was completely unusable and unrecyclable, we were left with a few useful odds and ends, including the stove, which we'd never really managed to properly install, and the ground sheet, which was in great condition and came in extremely handy actually as a heavy-duty tarp. We were also left with a compacted circle where we'd previously laid down a smooth sand base for the bell tent and a big tangle of undergrowth behind it. More on that later. Are you ready?
I'm ready. How am I thinking? All right.
Bye. Adios, Papa.
See you on the other side.
See you, Papa.
Bye, Papa.
Well, I made it. I'm in a yurt. Really cozy. I have a beautiful fire here. I have a kitchen. I'm about to drink a tea. It's a lot warmer than I thought it was gonna be. It's really well insulated. Yeah, just taking it in. I think I'm gonna sleep really well in here tonight. Good morning. I just got a great night of sleep. Nothing to do with Santi not being here. Yeah, can't really ask for a better night of sleep. It was super warm. Almost, it was too warm. I shouldn't have put more wood in the fire. It was fine when I came in, and I should have left it. But yeah, the main feature is like, this is the best alarm clock money can buy. Yeah, I'm in love with that thing. One thing I haven't figured out is the dismount from this bed.
So Mauro had travelled to Galicia in the north of Spain to visit Manuel, the owner of Celtic Yurts. Manuel and his team fabricate beautiful handcrafted yurts in their dedicated workshop, and the yurt Mauro stayed in was one of their original constructions, still standing the test of time on this little plot of ground nestled amongst residential buildings. Later, we'll take you to look inside Manuel's workshop where the yurts are made, but first let's take a closer look at how this particular one is set up because, although it's one of the smallest sizes available at just 23 metres squared, it had been set up to act as a totally self-sufficient little apartment. Behind the cosy living room, with the stove, the coffee table and plenty of book storage, with 2 further rooms, the kitchen and then a spacious bathroom which even had a bath. Up the narrow set of wooden stairs was not only a bed but a full mezzanine level which gives you quite a lot of extra room for storage or just lying on your back gazing up at the mesmerising skylight. I don't know if I would personally choose to break up the open circular space so much, but it is great inspiration for what you could do, and the dividing walls do give you some straight edges to work with which are always very handy. So, yeah, Mauro is currently away in Galicia at the yurt workshop, as you've seen, and yeah, we are getting a yurt. After much deliberation, we decided we're going to get a yurt. It's going to go here, where the old bell tent was standing. It's just a nice spot for it. It's not too far from the house. It's got a nice view. It's not too far from, the kitchen and the bathroom, which are going to be shared. We also haven't got a lot of other spaces that are just big and flat to put something like that on. So it has always been the perfect spot for guest accommodation. And yeah, we're going to put a yurt there. There's a broccoli coming. Oh, that's exciting. Anyway, yeah, after the loss of the bell tent, we really did want something more permanent and solid. This year we had hoped that we would finish everything else that we've been working on and be able to work on a natural build cabin. But it's just not going to happen in the time frame that we've got. All our guests this year were staying in a tent. That's just not really going to work for winter. We just don't really have, our house is a 1-bedroom house with no divides in it, no doors or anything. And it's small. It's just really hard to host people in there for anything more than a few days. So we really did want to get something a bit more solid and long term. When we realised we just weren't going to get the cabin done at this point in time, we started looking at other options, and there's lots of things we considered. We thought about a little static caravan, mobile home, upgraded sort of version of the bell tent, a container, a wood cabin shed type thing with modifications to make it insulated and such. A lot of those options were not going to be possible for logistical reasons, like positioning a container was just not going to happen in that particular spot or anywhere on our land, to be honest. And every kind of option that we looked at was just gonna not really give us what we wanted apart from a yurt. So we eventually settled on the idea of getting a yurt. We wanted something high quality, ideally built locally, at least in Europe, from a company that we could trust. There are very cheap offers online. There are things shipped in from other parts of the world. There are some second-hand offers kind of floating around, but after doing our research, we settled on Celtic Yurts, who are based up in Galicia, where Mauro is right now. So yeah, let's head back to Galicia, see a little bit more of the yurt workshop, how it's fabricated, made, designed, and yeah, hopefully you'll see why we chose Celtic Yurts for our yurt.
Bueno, pues te voy a explicar un poquito cómo funcionamos aquí con las celosías. Las celosías es la parte de la yurta que mantiene toda la estructura unida, en conjunto. Este que hacemos nosotros está más actualizado que los mongoles, porque no usamos piel de caballo, ni tendones, ni nada de este estilo. Entonces, materiales modernos y resistentes. Y lo que hacemos simplemente es ponemos una pequeña arandela en el medio para que no haya tanta fricción entre maderas y ya está. Pues este tipo de construcción que hacemos lo hacemos de forma modular, para que el día de mañana, si un cliente quiere cambiar una de las secciones, ponerle una ventana, así como repararlo o lo que sea, podemos saber exactamente cuánta madera nos hace falta para reparar esa sección, porque lo dividimos por ángulos, bueno, por triangulitos.
Sí.
y así es mucho más estandarizado. Nosotros utilizamos materiales modernos y también nos hemos inspirado en los mejores constructores de yurta de materiales modernos de la historia de ahora mismo, que yo creo que están en Norteamérica.
Claro.
As Mauro had already discovered, one of the coolest features of the yurt is of course the skylight, which is a lot bigger than you might expect if you haven't been in a yurt before and lets a lot of light in. During the visit, Manuel was actually in the middle of fabricating our skylight and explained to Mauro how he does it.
Es bonito, ¿eh? Parece un plato volador de
una nave espacial.
Sí.
Sí, esto la verdad es que la cúpula parece una nave espacial. Esto es el aro que, como te decía, en tu caso, tu aro es el de los más pequeñitos, ¿no? Que hacemos, tenemos 3 tamaños de aro y el tuyo tiene 4 niveles de madera, ¿no? Este está fresado con un ángulo para que las vigas del techo entren en el aro y ya con el ángulo que tiene el techo, que es un ángulo de 30 grados. Y entonces este otro ángulo que tiene aquí arriba es para que las lonas se queden bien encajaditas y luego pues la cúpula se quede bien encajada. Y estos son los mecanismos que tendrás que instalar para que la cúpula se pueda abrir y cerrar. La verdad es que es la parte más artesanal de todo el trabajo que hacemos.
Como es como el corazón de todo.
De todo, sí, o sea, el resto de las piezas también son bastante artesanales, pero esta pieza, pues cuando la ven carpinteros expertos y demás, pues alucinan, ¿no?
No, claro, es que es impresionante porque se nota, a poco que sepas de carpintería, se nota que no es trivial construir esto, para nada.
Era la parte más complicada de toda la construcción.
Although wood forms the main structure of the yurt, equally important are the multiple layers of material covering the structure which provide insulation, weatherproofing, soundproofing and more. Traditional Mongolian yurts would use natural materials such as wool and hide, but Manuel explained the modern material choices he had made for his designs.
Bueno, este material es muy importante para la yurta, ¿no? Para aislarla. Este material funciona por reflexión, ¿no? Es un invento supuestamente de la NASA, ¿no? Para la carrera espacial, porque pues, pesa poco, refleja la radiación solar, con lo cual en el exterior, que en el espacio que estás expuesto a la radiación directamente, pues es súper importante. Y luego, pues bueno, también tiene una pequeña cámara de aire, es un material que sorprendentemente funciona muy bien. Hay varios tipos de aislamiento, está por conducción, por convección y por reflexión. Y el aluminio es el único que te da la reflexión. Entonces, nosotros a mayores de esto tenemos un aislamiento térmico acústico para dar más confort, sobre todo en invierno, para retener más el calor y demás, pero este viene por defecto en la yurta. Y realmente, bueno, pues consideramos que si los fabricantes que fabrican yurtas, que llevan 30 años en Estados Unidos fabricando yurtas, han elegido este material como el material básico, ¿no? Para aislar las yurtas, es por algo, ¿no? Pues ya ves, este en particular es el doble y tiene 8 milímetros de espesor, no es mucho más, pero realmente aísla muy bien.
As you might have noticed earlier, the yurt Mauro stayed in was set up as a demo project in a small urban plot surrounded by other residential buildings, but the yurt itself was completely off-grid with its own composting toilet, solar panels and with a wood stove for heat. As I mentioned earlier, we gave up attempting to install a wood stove in our bell tent because it simply did not feel safe and we could never get it to draw properly, so it was interesting to hear how the safe installation of a stove has been central in Manuel's design.
Digo, está sobredimensionada para esta yurta, que si la pongo al tope me aso, o sea, me achicharro.
Sí, como yo anoche.
Yo, en mi experiencia personal, he visto verdaderas barbaridades haciendo salidas de estufa en yurtas, ¿no? Y en las yurtas tradicionales, que es más peligroso porque no son ignífugas las telas. Entonces, nosotros hemos diseñado con este fabricante, con Dinac, toda la salida de la estufa para que no haya riesgos, ¿no? Porque es muy importante. Entonces nosotros lo decimos, que la yurta pierde automáticamente la garantía si no utilizan nuestro sistema y siguen nuestras instrucciones los clientes, ¿no? Esta es la tela que utilizamos para el interior de la yurta, que es poliéster 100% ignífugo. Todas las telas, lonas y recubrimientos que tiene la yurta, incluso el aislamiento, tienen que ser ignífugos, tienen que tener una clasificación de retardancia al fuego para que cumpla la normativa europea de carpa. Hemos llegado a ver casos en Estados Unidos de yurtas que han tenido fuegos alrededor y la yurta en sí no ha ardido, entre otras cosas porque le caía una brasita, ¿no?, del fuego y se autoextinguía. Entonces, bueno, sí, llegaba a hacer un agujerito a lo mejor en la lona, pero la yurta no ardía.
Pero la gente ve una estructura de tela y de madera y piensa que eso es como una cerilla.
Eso es, pero no, realmente hay unos cálculos y está todo calculado pues hasta la sección de la madera que se emplea para que pues cumpla esa normativa y cumpla esos estándares.
Mauro spent a whole day at the workshop, and obviously there is a lot more that we could show you, and we will. And in the next video we are actually putting up our yurt, so then we'll tell you about a few more of its features and explain some of the customization choices we made with our particular model. Meanwhile, Mauro enjoyed the rest of his little break in Galicia, while back at the farm we continued preparing the site where the bell tent previously stood for the arrival of the yurt. So our volunteers, Esme and Alex, have been clearing this area for us over the last couple of days. They've cleared all of the grass and brush away from around a few of these trees. We've got some wild olives coming up, and we've also got some of these which I think are called a lime tree in English. They're relatively fast growing, so they can stay and they can provide some shade and some support for some of the trees that we want to plant here. A lot of wild asparagus roots. So yeah, the goal for this area behind where the yurt is going to go on the south side is just to grow some tall, fast-growing trees to provide some shade. We're hoping to plant some mulberries here and maybe some pistachios underneath. Maybe some paulownia as well, I'm not sure. Depends what we can get hold of. But yeah, that's the goal here. We were so lucky with the weather for this job because although it looks hot and sunny, it had been raining and the ground was lovely and soft and relatively easy to dig. Esme and I went to the garden centre to buy our new trees, and then we were lucky enough to have a bit more rain once it came to planting, which gave these trees a really good start. So we're planting today 2 mulberry trees, that's these tall ones here. 2 almonds, 2 different varieties, a flat peach and plum.
Oh, this is flying.
Oh. Alright, about to do some strimming, that's why I'm dressed like this. So the yurt is currently in a builder's yard in our town, just down the road, very, very close. Annoyingly close because it's travelled all this way and it is stuck down the road 8 kilometres away until a particular forklift could be fixed to load it out of the building yard and onto a truck which can then access our place. Anyway, it should be arriving tomorrow now, and Mauro just went to have a look at it today. It is a lot. It's a lot of stuff. We're going to have some help unloading it here because yeah, it's a lot and we've got to get it to the other side of the field. I am now just going to strim a path through that field so that it is a little bit easier to walk through with all of these planks of wood and the door and the window, and yeah, it's a lot. Right, that's a path through cleared. It was really worth doing because although it wasn't very tall, all the grass and all the weeds were very dense. Anyway, I'm just going to finish off the tank in the orchard, but that is everything set up basically for tomorrow. So yeah, here it is, the yurt is here. We have moved what we need for the platform up to the area where we're going to start building. We have done a few things already, so we will show you that in the next video. But yeah, we are ready to get going with this build. I can't wait to take you along and show you how we do it and how quickly it goes up. Well, I say quickly, it's going to take at least a week, but quickly compared to other projects that we've done lately. So yeah, we are super excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun as well putting it up. We are ready to go, right? With the platform. We are ready to go with the platform. Anyway, that's it for this video. We'll take you along for the rest of the build over the next couple of videos. Maybe 2, maybe 3, depends how quickly we get everything done. But yeah, let's get going with the platform. Thank you so much for watching and we will see you next week.